We want to call to order the March 16th, 2017 regular meeting of the Ascension Parish Council. Please stand for the invocation, followed by the pledge. Please bow your heads. I'd like to take a moment and let's think about the words in Leviticus and Matthew. Take no revenge and no grudge against any of your people. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your enemies, and pray for those who prosecute you. If you greet your brothers only, what's unusual about that? Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Tonight, I'd like to bring up Ron Reagan. Is he? Behind you. Here, behind you, Mr. Gavel. Okay. Ron is with Troop 769. He's working for his citizenship badge. And he's from Dutchtown High School. He'll lead us in the pledge.
Why don't you introduce your colleague here?
Hi, I'm Cole Tyner.
Okay.
I'm John Holliday.
Welcome.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Madam Secretary, the only councilman absent is Councilman Benny Johnson, and he is en route, from what I understand. We have a public comment period, so if you'd like to comment on an item, please come up to the podium and pick up a card, fill it out along with your name and the information and the item you'd like to comment on.
What do you want for that?
I'll return it to the council secretary here. Thank you. Okay, tonight we're going to start off with the proclamations, and the first one is Paint the Parish Purple, the American Cancer Society. That's going to be under chair edition. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Martin, hold on just a second. So I skipped over one part. I do have a chair edition. Thank you, Oliver. We have Kara's House, who wants to add an agenda item for tonight, and they have a funding issue that we need to take up, or they would like for us to take up under item 11A. I would entertain a motion
So moved,
for
Mr.
that.
Chairman.
Second.
Councilman Satterley, and we have a second. This requires a unanimous vote, so we'll do a quick roll call. Madam Secretary.
Councilman Turner.
Yes.
Councilman Satterley.
Yes.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Kluot.
Yes.
Councilman Lawler.
Yes.
Councilman Joseph.
Yes.
Councilwoman Casso.
Yes.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Cagnolati.
Yes.
Councilman Chairman Dawson.
Yes. That will be added as item 11A, and people will have an opportunity to comment on that also. Huh, yours is? Okay. As a matter, can we see if John we have a microphone that's not working up here, John? All right, so we'll go back to the presentations, and our first presentation again, Paint the Parish Purple, and Mr. McConnell. It's okay. All right.
Thank y'all for coming tonight. We have a proclamation. Paint the Parish Purple is an activity of the American Cancer Society and communities and opportunities to fight back against cancer. And whereas money raised doing Paint the Parish Purple, Ascension Parish supports the American Cancer Society mission of saving lives and creating a world of less cancer and more birthdays. By helping people stay well, by helping people get well, by fighting cures for cancer and fighting back, and whereas the American Cancer Society funded more than $160 million in cancer research last year through money raised in communities across the United States. Now, therefore, I, Kenny Matassa, Parish President of Ascension Parish in the state of Louisiana, by virtue and authority of me vested in me, do hereby proclaim March 24th, 2017 as Paint the Parish Purple Day. Thank y'all so much for coming. Would y'all please, someone wants to talk, please? And then we'll take a picture with the proclamation.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. My name is Carrie DeShay-Miad. I'm a resident here in Gonzales, and I'm a breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 33 years old in June of 2008. Unfortunately, also am a cancer caregiver. I lost my grandfather to pancreatic cancer almost 2 years ago. So a day like this, being able to come forward in the community and asking you to support us in supporting all of our endeavors for Relay for Life of Ascension Parish, which is kicked off by our Paint the Parish Purple Day, which will be next Friday. Just to encourage you to wear purple, to encourage your kids to wear purple, everyone in your office to wear purple, to show just a solidarity behind this cause that I'm almost certain everyone in this room has been affected by in some way. So we want to thank you for allowing us to be here, and we want to invite you to come out and join us for Relay for Life at Lamar Dixon on April the 29th. It's a Saturday. We have a full day of activities, and we certainly welcome your participation. If you'd like to join a team or create a team of your own, we hope that you will come out and join us that day. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So I have the second proclamation, which is, okay.
It's crowded down there.
Well, we got a couple of your colleagues coming down. Well, that's a good-looking one. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, the next proclamation that we have is to proclaim March as Flood Awareness Month in Ascension Parish.
Ms. Marcy Shivers, please come up. Ms. Marcy is our floodplain manager for Ascension Parish. And if you do any kind of development, you've talked to her, I'm sure. The Amite River Basin has been substantially affected by floods in the past and could be expected to be affected in the future. And whereas some of the most devastating floods occurred during the spring season of the year, and whereas the citizens, communities, and parishes within the Amite River basins have suffered substantial losses during these floods, whereas Ascension Parish residents suffered 2 devastating floods in 2016, and whereas the citizens and individual property owners should be aware of the measures to take by themselves and through government to reduce the risk of flood losses. Now, therefore, I, Kenny Matassa, Parish President of Ascension Parish, by virtue and authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim March 2017 as Flood Awareness Day. It's ironic that this last year in February, I asked everybody about the floods to get flood insurance. It's just the way things are, how crazy they are, but we appreciate you, Ms. Morris, for everything you do. Thank you.
Okay, next we have the Certificates of Recognition, LSU 2017 Esprit de Film Award. Hope I said that correctly. We have.
Is Ms. Alice Dunbar here tonight? Please come up. I guess call them both up. And Ms. Tawana Whitney. Oh, Tanya, I'm sorry. Oops. Established in 2009 by LSU Women's Center, the Esprit de Femme Award is an annual acknowledgement of a person who has made exceptional efforts towards the advancement of women in Louisiana. This award honors individuals who elevated the status of women in the community through their contributions to the arts, education, and healthcare, businesses and industries, charities, and civic engagements. So we give this award to these two ladies tonight, and we thank them for everything they do for Ascension Parish and the state of Louisiana. Thank you all so much. Would y'all like to say a few words?
I would just like to thank President Matassa and the council for this honor. I know most of you from my work at the Veterans Park next door, and so it's always a pleasure to know that I have y'all's support. So again, thank you for this.
I'd like to thank Parish President Matassa, the council, for acknowledging my efforts with mentoring. Education is very important to me, and with the support of the community, I hope to move the STEM Gems and Mentoring Project forward even further into higher heights. Thanks.
Thank you.
Chairman Dawson. Actually, I didn't think it was appropriate to take a picture while they were saying the pledge. These fellas will be soon. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the parish president's report. Mr. Matassa.
Council, first thing I have is, a while back we talked about the debris and where FEMA had stopped picking up debris like on the 24th. And I told y'all we were working on something to get approval to pick up debris because we still have a lot of people out there hurting and haven't tore down yet. So beginning Monday, DPW will lend us 2 crews and trucks to OEP to continue debris removal. OEP personnel will provide the monitoring, and the FEMA reimbursement should be okay for most of it. Now, I want you to know there's some things that we're going to be picking up that will not be a reimbursement on. I can't give you a dollar on that yet, but I think that it's very important we help everybody that flooded and pick up everything. We estimating 5,000 cubic yards of debris left out there, which would take 3 to 4 months. We're going to advertise it well, and we're going to pick it up with our own trucks and our own monitoring to lower the costs, and we should get 90% reimbursement on this. Unless you tell me not to do it, that's the game plan, which everybody said they wanted to continue helping everybody. Kara came tonight, and what happened with Kara, they got in a bind for everybody knows how hard they work for the water. We assisted them in doing an application with FEMA, which they lost $100,000 worth of money, but they're possibly getting back in the neighborhood of $80,000, hopefully. But what has happened, they depleted all of their funds, and so the next check's supposed to go to them on April the 1st, and they need it now. So if you approve this tonight, which she'll come up and talk to you on the agenda item, we can cut the check hopefully tomorrow or Monday at the latest.
Okay. Any questions for President Matassa?
I got
You have
a couple
something?
more, yes. Parish utilities, as of afternoon, ACUD 1 is now receiving water from the People's Service plant, and we're not getting any more water from St. James. That is our first step towards being independent. Next step will be connecting Assumption water. It went very smooth. I got information this week from the Treasurer's Office that our estimation of the population of Ascension is now 121,250 people. So we are still growing in leaps and bounds. That's all I have tonight. If you got any questions, thanks.
Mr. Lawler?
Wait.
Well, you have
sorry.
something else?
No, I do have one presentation after that. So go ahead, Mr. Lawler.
Okay.
Very briefly, we didn't have a Recreation Committee meeting. Just I want to bring it to your attention, it may already be to your attention, that we have a light issue at Stevens Park. I don't know what the severity of it is, but just something to look into.
Well, legal's looking at it. It's a lot of issues
Wait,
on
legal
it.
lights?
Well, contractor not doing something, this and that. So
Okay.
whatever O'Neill comes up, that we on it, and
We're
hopefully we
working
can resolve it quickly.
Thank you.
Okay? Now I have one presentation that we need to make, and Ms. McConnell will handle that. Thank you.
Thank you, council members, for allowing this to come up. We apologize, we received this a little bit too late to get it on the agenda. But can I get the Gavel Club up here? Yeah. Ms. Tamika Stroud. There's an organization called Toastmasters International, which is a club that teaches you how to speak in public, how to make presentations professionally and efficiently. And in Donaldsonville, we're chartering a Young Voices of Ascension Gavel Club, which is Toastmasters International for young people. So we just wanted to be able to recognize them and say that whereas the Young Voices of Ascension Gavel Club is an affiliate of Toastmasters International, which is a world leader in communication and leadership development, it's made up of 345,000 members in 15,900 clubs in 142 countries. And we are now organizing one, the very first one in District 68 of Toastmasters International. And they are going to be organizing this Sunday, March the 26th, as the Young Voices of Ascension Gavel Club Day. So the parish president did want to include them and recognize them at this time.
Well, we want to thank President Matassa and the council for recognizing March 26th as the Young Voices of Ascension Gavel Club Day. But I'd like to introduce Dr. Michelle Taylor. She's a resident of Gonzales and an educator at St. James High School. She's actually the coordinator of the club, and she's actually putting the entire thing together. It's actually going to be located here in Gonzales. So, Dr. Taylor?
The chartering of the Young Voices of Ascension Gavel Club, we will be the first Gavel Club in the entire state of Louisiana, with the exception of Shreveport. We also, District 68 also covers Beaumont, Texas, and southwestern Mississippi. And as she said, it's an affiliate of Toastmasters, and it focuses on public speaking and leadership skills for youth. We have 8 charter members from Dutchtown Middle School, Taylor Stewart, Gonzales Middle School, Sky Taylor and Jalen Wilson, Bruley High School, Noah Howard, Donaldsonville High School and River Parish Community College, Tamikio Stroud, Dutchtown High School, Malik Winey, East Ascension High School, Deja Sullivan, Sanama High School and River Parish Community College, Nia Cumry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item is the consent agenda, and I will read this. Adoption of February 2, 2017 regular council meeting minutes. Item B, adoption of February 23, 2017 regular council meeting minutes. Item C, ratification of the master contract for professional services, general utility assistance between Ascension Parish government and GSA consultant engineers in the amount of $49,999. Item D, roads for acceptance into the parish maintenance system as follows. Woodland Manor, first filing, Turn Lane, Woodland Manor, 122 feet. Germany Oak subdivision, first filing. Laurel Oak Avenue, 324 feet. Turn Lane on Germany Oaks, 775 feet. Item E, renewal of contract with Stericycle Environmental Solutions for the Ascension Parish Household Materials Day at Lamar Dixon Expo Center, not to exceed $49,900. Item F, renewal of contract with Dr. Lisa Bailey for providing dental services to the inmates at Ascension Parish Jail, not to exceed $30,000 per year. Item G, renewal of contract with Ty Gotro for providing medical needs to inmates at the Ascension Parish Jail, not to exceed $4,125 per month. Item H, contract with Total Energy Solutions Company, LLC, for the preventative maintenance for generators, total compensation not to exceed $49,875. Item I, amendment number 2 to master contract for professional services with Tetra Tech, not to exceed a total of $946,997.75. Item J, approval of contract change order number 2 for fire station number 34 Bluff Road, addition of $8,473.83 to total contract amount and an additional 43 days to the contract with A&R Construction LLC, total contract amount with change order $1,457,296.64. Item K, renewal of professional services agreement with Sky High Aviation, total compensation not to exceed $8,949.84. Item L, renewal of professional services agreement with Aviation Specialties, Inc., total compensation not to exceed $8,949.60. Item M, professional services contract with Dietzens Interactive for monthly CMS content management system web maintenance at a cost of $95 per month. Cooperative endeavor agreement with Pi Entertainment in the amount of $250,000. Item O, approval of master contract with Gulf South Engineering and Testing for geotechnical testing at the site of fire station number 60, 44465 Stringer Bridge Road, Sanama, Louisiana, not to exceed $3,500. Item P, approval of master contract for professional services with Gulf South Engineering and Testing for geotechnical testing at the site of fire station number 61, LA Highway 22, Sanama, not to exceed $3,500. Item Q, amendment number 1 to master contract for professional services between Mogu Architecture LLC and Ascension Parish Government for architectural engineering services for flood recovery project for additional services at Ascension Parish Fire District number 1, station number 60 at 44465 Stringer Bridge Road, Sanama, and 46107 Highway 22, Highway 22 Sanama in the amount of $17,600. Item R, amendment number 1 to master contract for professional services between Meyer Engineering Ltd. and Ascension Parish Government for architectural engineering services for flood recovery projects for additional services at PJ Landing / Animal Control located on Paul Road in Sanama, at Sanama Park located on Stringer Bridge Road, total amount $20,918. Item S, amendment number 1 to professional services contract between D4 Resource Management and Ascension Parish Government to increase the total amount of the original contract by an additional $6,495 for a total not to exceed amount of $31,395. Item T, bid items to accept lowest responsive bid, type HP, High Performance Coal Mix, Coastal Bridge Company, LLC. Precast reinforced box culverts, design, precast, and pipe, Inc. CRS-2, asphalt emulsion material, asphalt products unlimited, $3.80 per gallon. Item U, request for quote, interior repairs to the Geismar Fire Station Number 80, Southern Custom Buildings, Inc., $19,869. Custom Buildings, Inc., Lamar Dixon Expo Center, Chiller, Factory Service Agency, $60,650. Renovate Galvez Lake Volunteer Fire Department Station Number 50, Guitro General Contractors, LLC, $98,900. Alternate number 1, $16,350. Item number V, request for qualifications, architectural and/or engineering services, fixed generators at crucial facilities, project number HMGP 1786-022-002, Infinity Engineering Consultants. Do any councilman want to remove any item from the consent agenda?
So move the consent agenda.
A motion and a second to adopt the consent agenda. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion carried. We move to committee recommendations. Have our first speaker on item number 8A, Ms. Catherine Gopal.
Good evening, Councilman. It's National Sunshine Week. It's not about weather. It's about transparency in government. So let's bring some sunshine into the appointments for the Ascension Planning and Zoning Commission. Current members Douglas Foster and Edward Dudley have served a one-year term on the commission. Dudley previously served on a planning commission in Pennsylvania. They are knowledgeable about the Ascension Code, master plan, and planning process. They are experienced and have demonstrated their impartiality, approving 3 developments and denying 3. So why are they not being recommended to continue their service? The fix is in. The Good Old Boy Network is alive and well in Ascension. Your personnel committee has recommended 2 inexperienced and uneducated individuals to take the place of these 2 men. Is it because they will do what they're told and support all development? Wade Shake Snyder is the son of former Councilman Kent Shake Snyder. Kent cut his political teeth in the P&Z, and Wade hopes to do the same. Is he being groomed for parish council in 2019? Ken Furman has served on the appeals board appointed by the parish president that you will likely abolish tonight. Mr. Furman cannot serve on both committees, so why was he allowed to give an interview while still serving on the appeals board? Word is he turned in his resignation after the interview. Illegal, unethical, corrupt. Let the people decide. Will you abolish the appeals board knowing the process was corrupt and Mr. Ken Furman was part of that process, and then appoint him to the P&Z? Any council member that supports Mr. Furman will take the fingerprints of corruption and identify with the political machine in Ascension that is fully in the pockets of the developers. You can't have it both ways. Let the people understand what is happening tonight. Mr. Foster is being punished because he called out the corruption in the appeals board process. He should be rewarded for his loyalty to the law and serving responsibly. Both Mr. Foster and Mr. Dudley have proven that they can't be manipulated or controlled. Your personnel committee is a travesty, and the process is a dog and pony show. I've witnessed it personally. So citizens, if you're wondering why we have such unbridled growth without any infrastructure, mismanagement, and irresponsibility, no concern for the health and safety and welfare of the public as it relates to growth, look no further than 11 members of the Ascension Parish Council. If they vote tonight for these 2 recommendations of Mr. Shake Snyder and Mr. Furman, the fix is in. The Good Old Boy Network rules. The developers get what they want, and the people are pushed out of the room. Einstein's definition of insanity applies, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Support Douglas Foster and Edward Dudley for reappointment. keep the corruption going, and support the recommendations of the Personnel Committee. The public can't wait for the next election. Thank you.
Okay, we have also, no, I guess this is Mr. Gene E. Lavadali. I'm not sure if I said that correctly. I apologize, but Junior.
That's okay. It's not the first time. Jean Lavidali. Good
Okay.
evening. In 2008, my wife and I decided to buy our home here in Ascension because we thought it was the best all-around investment in Louisiana had to offer for our kids and family. For the majority of that time, we felt secure that the decision we made was the right one. We now are questioning Ascension's future. Though we are still confident in the leadership of most parish agencies and the city of Gonzales, the same is not true of our parish government. We ask that the council put all personal relationships and friendships aside and do what is right for the people of the parish. I must remind you that each one of you is representing the people of the parish here tonight and every day that you work, and that you have agreements with the people of the parish, and that's the people you have to respond to. This begins with abolishing the joke of an appeals board and reappointing Douglas Foster and Edward Dudley to the Planning Commission. The records reflect that they both have the experience we desperately need, and most importantly, they have the ability to perform their duties impartially and in the best interest of the parish. I have lived here in Louisiana and I have lived in Georgia, and I was an attorney for different cities in Georgia, and I can tell you that I have never seen an appeals board like this one, where they respond directly and only to the parish president. Finally, please support Doug Satterley's motion requesting Kenny Matassa's resignation because of our family. Like countless others have completely lost.
Your comments have to be relative to this item.
I understand, and this is part of this item, because the board responds directly to the parish president. And I think that you all really have to look at what is being done in this parish. And you have to, well, one, you need to try to change the law, the parish charter, because there has to be transparency in this government. This is not the government of 10, 20, 50 years ago. There has to be transparency. You are all responsible to the residents of this parish, and you have to respond to their needs. Thank you.
Okay, so on, okay, Mr. Cagnolati, Councilman Cagnolati, we're going to item number 8A, which is appointments to planning and zoning.
Thank you, Chairman Dawson. The Personnel Committee met on March the 13th, conducted interviews for the following positions, and the recommendations were made as follows. Recommendations for the Planning and Zoning Commission. Recommendations are ranked in order. First, Matthew Pryor for a 2-year term. I need a motion and a second.
So motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Satterley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our current chairman, Matt Pryor, was rated number 1 and was recommended for reseating. I have no problem with that, although I'm not surprised. But apparently the incumbency, experience, loyalty, dedication, and excellent, as the speaker said moments ago, impartial service of Commissioners Doug Foster and Edward Dudley was not enough to reseat these 2 exemplary citizens as well. These champions of the people are scheduled to get the boot tonight, which will make the earlier pre-interview prediction by the Pelican Post come true. I beg you to prove Way PT wrong, that they were destined to be fired. Frankly, this shocks me as I sat in all 6 PNZ candidate interviews last Monday. And were I a member of the Personnel Committee, I would have easily ranked Messrs. Foster and Dudley numbers 1 and 2 respectively, and by far. Instead, tonight, in Foster and Dudley's places, two newcomers without any previous experience, as pointed out by another speaker on the P&Z, Mr. Wade Scheck-Snyder, former Councilman Kent Scheck-Snyder's son, and Ken Furman, member of the Appeals Board, which most likely will be abolished in a moment under item number 13, an item that cleared the earlier ordinance introduction hurdle of this council with a 10-to-1 vote, or recommended to replace Foster and Dudley. Ironically, if this happens, the Personnel Committee will be recommending Mr. Furman, who is a member of the controversial Appeals Board, who the people, myself included, believe wrongfully overturned 3 recent larger body majority vote P&Z denials of subdivisions. Will we in Ascension Parish be playing musical chairs once again? As former planning director Ricky Compton is fond of saying, will we be further, quote, selling our souls to the developer devil, unquote? As one of our public speakers also mentioned this evening, is Mr. Furman still a member of the soon-to-be defunct Appeals Board? Again, having attended the interviews of the candidates who applied for the seats on the P&Z last Monday, I noticed that Mr. Furman passed a note and then pronounced his resignation from the Appeals Board to substitute Chairman John Cagnolati after he, Mr. Furman, completed his interview. Besides myself and a few other parish officials, Commissioner Foster was the only other whistleblower to speak up about the, quote, stench of corruption, unquote, his words, that underlied our present appointed Appeals Board. I have no doubt in my mind that Doug Foster is being punished for speaking up about the corruption, and like Mr. Dudley, I believe both of these fine men, exemplary Ascension Parish citizens, are being punished when they should be awarded instead using their discretionary authority to occasionally, and I would point out, as Ms. Gupple said, there's a 3-3 record there on voting for Mr. Foster and his colleague, 3 approvals, 3 denials of subdivisions, and appropriately denying new developments that most certainly negatively will impact the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens. And these were well vetted due to serious drainage and traffic issues. It's my further understanding that certain councilmen even went as far to tell Commissioner Foster before he even interviewed last Monday that he was going to be replaced. With such closed-minded, perhaps unethical, perhaps illegal behavior going on, I ask, why even hold interviews for these boards? So, Mr. Chairman, I offer a substitute motion to reseat Commissioner Foster.
So we have a substitute motion on the floor. Is there a second?
What is the motion again?
The motion is to replace Mr. Pryor with Mr. Foster. Is that correct, Councilman?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
The motion is lost for lack of a second, reverts back to the original motion. Is there any further discussion? So, is there any opposition? Let's do a roll call, Madam Chair, Madam Secretary.
Councilman Turner.
From Hodida.
Well, it was a yes vote is to stay with the original motion.
For Matthew Pryor, yes.
Yes.
Councilman Satterley.
No.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Kluot.
Yes.
Councilman Lawler.
Yes.
Councilman Joseph.
Yes.
Councilwoman Casso.
Yes.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Cagnolati.
Yes.
Chairman Dawson.
Yes. Okay, Councilman Cagnolati.
Continue with the report. Mr. Chairman, before I get any further, I did forget to thank the members who sat on the Personnel Committee. Councilman Randy Kluot, Councilwoman Terry Cazzo, Councilman Travis Turner, and Councilman Oliver Joseph. I appreciate them doing that night. Secondly, we recommend appointment to the Planning and Zoning, Wade Scheck-Snyder, for a 1-year term.
So moved. A recommendation, have a motion.
Second.
Have a second. Is there any discussion? Councilman Satterley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to offer a substitute motion again for Mr. Douglas Foster.
A substitute motion to substitute Douglas Foster for Wade Scheck-Snyder. Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second.
I would like to make a substitute motion for Mr. Dudley.
Have a substitute motion to replace Mr. Scheck-Snyder with Mr. Dudley.
Second.
Have a second. Okay, is there any discussion on this motion? Okay, is there any opposition to this motion?
Yes.
Have opposition. Roll call, Madam Secretary. A reminder, this is a motion to replace Mr. Scheck-Snyder with Mr. Dudley.
Councilman Turner.
No.
Councilman Satterley.
Yes.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
No.
Councilman Kluot.
No.
Councilman Lawler.
Yes.
Councilman Joseph.
No.
Councilwoman Casso.
No.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
No.
Councilman Cagnolati.
No.
Chairman Dawson.
No. Okay, so we have a last recommendation, Mr. Cagnolati. Well, let's go back. We need to go back to the original motion, which is to place Mr. Shakespeare on the
one-year term.
So we have that recommendation.
Motion and a second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that? Any opposition? We have opposition, Madam Secretary.
Councilman Turner.
Yes.
Councilman Satterley.
No.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Kluot.
Yes.
Councilman Lawler.
No.
Councilman Joseph.
Yes.
Councilwoman Casso.
Yes.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Cagnolati.
Yes.
Chairman Dawson.
Yes. Okay, that's, we have one more nomination, is that correct, Mr.
Correct. For
Cagnolati?
Planning and Zoning, Mr. Ken Furman for a one-year term.
Have a motion?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any opposition? Have opposition, Madam Secretary?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to offer substitute motion. Tried Mr. Dudley twice. Mr. Foster would like to substitute motion for Mr. Dudley.
So let me make sure I have that correct. So we're voting on Mr. Furman, and you want to substitute Mr. Dudley, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a
He's
motion.
a constituent in my district, and he has experience with
Well, no,
Pennsylvania.
we're just trying to get, I'm trying to get.
Oh,
the
you asking for
motion
discussion,
straight.
or are you just asking?
No, I'm trying
Okay,
to
substitute
get-
motion for Mr. Dudley.
Mr. Dudley, okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second. Now, we can have discussion. Mr. Sadler.
In addition to what I pointed out in my preliminary remarks earlier, before the first candidate was reseated, I'd just like to say that Mr. Dudley has extensive experience in the state of Pennsylvania as a planning and zoning commissioner there, as well as his years' experience that I've already indicated was and is and always will be exemplary in Ascension Parish. I thought in the interview he particularly fielded the questions about his knowledge of the land development code, the master plan, and his ability and experience while at Pennsylvania for updating our master plan, which is badly needed, a job which I need to also state is mandated by the state of Louisiana to not be the responsibility of this parish council, but yet the responsibility of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I sat on the Planning and Zoning Commission over 5 years ago, going on 6, and we tried to take that responsibility seriously then and revise that master plan, but the council, before I was seated, saw fit to send it to strategic planning, which I didn't chair back then. I called it back then because I believe it was a black hole. So it's never been brought back out. And I would question why the commissioners now that have served since me for over 5 years have not saw fit to update our master plan. Yet they will always point fingers at this council that we need to do something about it. Once again, I'd like to reiterate, the state of Louisiana says that when we appointed them and empowered them as a legislative body, that it is their responsibility to develop a master plan for the parish of Ascension. And I thank everyone for listening.
So we have any further discussion? So the motion is to substitute Mr. Dudley for Mr. Furman. Okay. Do we have opposition? Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Councilman Turner.
No.
Councilman Satterley.
Yes.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
No.
Councilman Kluot.
No.
Councilman Lawler.
Yes.
Councilman Joseph.
No.
Councilwoman Casso.
No.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
No.
Councilman Cagnolati.
No.
Chairman Dawson.
Yes. Okay. Motion fails. We're back to the original motion, which is to place Mr. Furman in this
One-year term.
term.
I don't think you had a second. I think somebody substituted. Did you have
Do
a
we
second?
have a?
I'll second it.
Okay.
I'll have a second.
I'll second. Oh, you second.
We had the motion and the second. Is there any further discussion on Mr. Furman's appointment? Okay, is there any opposition? Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Councilman Turner.
Yes.
Councilman Satterley.
No.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert. I'm sorry.
Yes,
Did-
ma'am. Yes.
Councilman Kluat,
Yes.
Councilman Lawler,
Yes.
Councilman Joseph,
Yes.
Councilwoman Casso,
Yes.
Councilman Todd Lambert,
Yes.
Councilman Cagnolati,
Yes.
Chairman Dawson.
Yes. Okay, so that completes those appointments, and we have appointments to the Zoning Board of Adjustments and Appeals.
Right, Mr. Chairman, the new appointee recommendation is for Heather Sharon, and this board does not have terms.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Turner,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Casso. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries.
The next one, Mr. Chairman, is recommendations for the Fire Protection District Number 1, reappointment to Cody Reeves for a 2-year term.
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries.
Next, for the same position, recommendation for the Fire Protection District Number 1 for reappointment, Brent Smith for a 2-year term.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second for Brent Smith. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries.
Next, Mr. Chairman, recommendations for Fire Protection District Number 2, a new
Number
appointment.
three?
I'm sorry.
Just number 3?
Number 2.
Number 2.
Okay.
Fire District Number 2. As a new appointment, John Roby for a 2-year term.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second for Mr. John Roby. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries.
For reappointment, Mr. Malcolm Dugas for a 2-year term.
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second to reappoint Mr. Malcolm Dugai. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries.
Next is the reappointment of Chris Zarang to a 2-year term.
So
Motion.
moved.
A motion and a second for Mr. Chris Zarang. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries.
Next, the reappointment of David LeBlanc to a 3-year term.
Motion, Mr.
A
Chairman.
motion and a second for Mr. David LeBlanc. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is the reappointment for Wellington Johnson to a 3-year term.
Motion. Second.
Motion and a second for Mr. Johnson to a 3-year term. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries.
And lastly, Mr. Chairman, recommendations for the Fire Protection District Number 3. First is the reappointment of Tracy Burns to a 2-year term.
Motion.
A motion and a second by Mr. Lambert for Ms. Tracy Burns. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries.
And lastly, Mr. Chairman, reappointment of Walter Leftwich to a 2-year term.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for Mr. Walter Leftwich. Any discussion? Any opposition?
That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Cagnolati. General business, item number 9, we have a appointment of chief building official per section 6-17C of the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances. Who we have administration here? We have Mr. Dawson or Mr. Matas.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is according to ordinance that we have to have a building official appointment because of a situation with the previous building official. So we ask that you recognize and accept the recommendations tonight to make this appointment as our interim building official.
Okay, gentlemen, we have a recommendation. I'm sorry, who was it again?
It's Mike Abear.
Mr. Mike Abear to be the chief building official.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
A motion and a second to appoint Mr. Mike Abear as the chief building official. Is there any discussion? Mr. Lawler.
What are the duties? What is this person going to be doing? Are they compensated?
Yes.
Duties.
Jerome to explain the same thing that the previous building official was, but I get Jerome to give you some details
Okay.
on it.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, as you know, our chief building official is on absence right now for health reasons. He's due to return. This is a temporary appointment until he does return. This person has been with the parish for a number of years. He's fully certified in all the building codes. He is performing that function right now for us in Laverne's absence. And he is a paid employee. He's under the building department, which is also under the planning and development department. All right, so, and Mike Hebert is sitting in the audience. If you'd like to ask questions of him, he's here to address the council as needed. All right.
Thank you.
Will there be a change in compensation?
No, not at the moment, no.
Mr. Joseph, Councilman Joseph.
Yes, you're appointing him as the chief, but you're not saying temporary. So can we clear that to appoint him as temporary? Make the motion as temporary chief building inspector.
Correct.
That's my substitute motion to that.
I'll second that.
Okay. Councilman Satterley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Lawler's concerns was going to be one of my two questions too, but I just want for the record to be sure. This is to temporarily replace Mr. Laverne Bourgeois?
That's correct.
Because I used to refer to him as Chief Building Inspector. I guess official, is that his official?
It's
Chief Building Official is his official title?
That's correct. That's in the code.
And
yes.
and this, as you said to Mr. Lawler and this council, this is a temporary appointment till Laverne feels better.
Yes,
Thank you.
That is correct. Yes.
Further questions, Councilwoman Casso.
Not a question, but a gratitude to Mr. Hebert for his willingness to take this on. I understand that he has done so in a very difficult time in our parish with the recovery from the flood. So thank you very much, Mike, for stepping into this. Thank you.
Mike, I should add, is the person who's heading up all the appeals for the flood damage. He's done a superb job in his position. It's been a pleasure to work with him.
Okay, further questions? So we have a motion to appoint Mr. Mike Hebert as temporary chief building official per section 6-17C of the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances. Is there any opposition to this? Hearing none, motion passes. Item number 10, approval to reinstate and amend Volkert contract for project ENG-14-023 St. Landry Edenborn Connector Road, design changes, new design to incorporate changes in elevations of the new road, as well as the removal of all curb and gutter and associated items to increase the contract by $80,655. New not to exceed amount, $1,287,295. We have, doesn't look like Tacey, but it's Mr. Enlow, Mike Enlow.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for recognizing that, Chairman. Yeah, so this is, like it says, to increase the contract to incorporate the new elevations and remove the curb and gutter. So,
motion.
Have a motion. We have a second. We have a question, Mr. Lambert.
Yeah, Mike,
Lambert.
the 1.2 million, wasn't that paid to Volkert already to do the initial?
Correct.
Design?
Yes,
Okay. This is just an additional to the original?
Yes, sir.
Because this was approved several years ago.
Correct.
Okay. Just making sure it wasn't an additional.
No, well, it's an additional 80,000, but yeah.
Just 80.
Correct, not 1.287.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I know we'd already paid them several years back, so. Thank you, sir.
Further questions?
Just a quick comment, Mr. Chairman. I just want to express to the administration how important that road is to us, that Edenborn connector, based on the slow movement of the federal government and trying to improve the transportation around here, that is going to be a major need should we have accidents on Highway 30 and things, and double outlets for emergencies, and the large usage of Lamar-Dixon during our emergencies as we coming up on the hurricane season. So appreciate anything you guys can do to move forward with that road. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any further questions? Parish President.
Gentlemen and Ms. Terry, as y'all well know, we have 5 major projects that was cut by the cuts of the state, and that was one of them. We were awarded a $5.2 million grant on that road, but it took us 10 months to get the right-of-way. And when we went to the bond commission, they said they didn't have the coverage. So this is to make a 2-lane road, probably on our own nickel, because we're trying every avenue to get money. But we have to do something for the hurricane season and for the functions at Lamar-Dixon. You know, the balloon festival is big enough, and we're looking at bigger events than that. So I thank you all tonight for approving this.
Councilwoman Casso.
Yeah, the President addressed one of my questions. What is the status of the right-of-way acquisition for this road?
For this, it's completed.
It's complete, it's all done.
Congratulations.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, let me just say, we were approved, we went to the bond commission and were approved with no money, just like the other 5 projects in Ascension. State projects.
Okay, we're looking for a motion to approve to reinstate and amend the Boca contract.
Already did that. Just call
Already
for
don't tell me.
Call for vote.
Any opposition? Okay, so moved.
Chairman, I want to congratulate Mr. Abear. I know he wanted to come up and say a few things, but I know time is limited tonight, so.
Thank you. Okay, we have item number 11, approval of change order number 4, Lamar Dixon Expo Center wind retrofit.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, we were supposed to add Cary in there.
I'm sorry, well, that's on 11A though.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
It's gonna be on
Okay.
11A. All right, so 11 is approval of change order number 4, Lamar Dixon Expo Center wind retrofit, task number 2 to install Lauren veneer panels to cover holes in gym walls, increase the amount $616. Ms. Martha Collins.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion, any questions for Ms. Collins? Any opposition? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Ms. Collins. Now we have item 11A, which is an additional item. And we have Kara's house to speak on that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Jolie. I'm the Vice President at Kara's House. As you know, the flood brought on a lot of additional expenses. We took over operations at Lamar Dixon. In doing so, we were there manning the facility 24 hours, 7 days a week. We incurred a massive amount of additional fees. We are in the process of waiting on FEMA reimbursement. We're not asking for additional money. We're only asking for our April 1st check 2 weeks early.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to grant the $50,000 additional or early payment.
Early payment.
Early payment.
Any opposition, discussion?
Discussion, not opposition. Yep. Mr. Chairman, thank you, and thank you, Kara's House, Jolie. For the record, I met with President Matassa and Annie Chambers on this emergency item added to the agenda, Mr. Chairman, and I would just like to state, for the record, I appreciate his championing of this cause for the people and for our fur babies. And also thank you, it's Ms. Culpepper, maybe?
Yes.
Ms. Culpepper, for all the work you and the wonderful people in your nonprofit organization did during the great flood of 2016. I just don't know what we'd have done without you. And again, thank you, President Matassa.
Any further discussion, questions? Any opposition? Hearing none. Motion's adopted. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, we have public hearings for ordinances. Item number 12, amendment to the LDC subdivision regulation 174092, appeal procedure. Mr. Parrington.
To amend the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code, LDC Appendix 4, Subdivision Regulations, Section 17-4092, Appeal Procedure, whereas Ascension Parish local government subdivision defined by Article 6, Section 44, Louisiana Constitution 1974. Whereas the Parish of Ascension is the governing responsible body over the zoning and regulations within jurisdiction. Whereas Article 6 of the Home Rule Charter of Ascension Parish adopted May 4th, 1993 identifies the process and manner to adopt ordinances regulating the lands of this parish. Now therefore be it ordained by the Ascension Parish governing authority that the Unified Land Development Code of Ascension Parish, Louisiana, Appendix 4, Subdivision Section 174092, Appeal Procedures amended as follows, as more clearly described in Exhibit A and attached here to and made a part hereof. In the event any portion of the ordinance is ever held invalid or written constitutional by any reason for any court of competent jurisdiction over it, such portion shall be deemed separate, distinct, and independent provisions, shall not affect the validity of remaining portions of the ordinance. The ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted by law. The ordinance has been submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Open public comment.
Second. A motion and a second. Any opposition? We have 2 speakers on this item. First, Mr. Chase Malonson.
Hi, how y'all doing? I'd just like to express my support for abolishing the appeals board. As we learned tonight, they have to come before y'all to be approved for this position. So if there comes a case to where they deny a subdivision or development and then they need to appeal, why not we bring it back to you, the council, the people we elected and put in front of office instead of somebody who was handpicked by somebody we didn't choose to represent us in our decisions. So hope y'all take that into consideration.
Thank you. Ms. Catherine Gopal.
Thank you, council members. I'd like to thank Councilman Satterley for addressing this issue in strategic planning and the committee for supporting this positive step to bring this item before the entire council. Let those who wish to appeal a decision by the P&Z Commission appeal to the parish council, who are directly responsible to the people. This elected body must take full responsibility to be accountable to the citizens, in other words, take the heat for decisions of the P&Z Commission should an appeal be made by the developer. Growth is our greatest challenge. How we grow and development of infrastructure with it, roads, sewer, fire protection, etc., is critical for the future and should be at the top of your priority list. Why would you not want to have a say in this most important issue? 3 reasons to dissolve the board. Number 1, a 3-member board appointed by the parish president should not be able to overturn the deliberate, informed decision of your 7-member appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission, who submit resumes, are interviewed by the Personnel Committee, and approved by the council. 2, the appeals board has inserted politics into the process. Over the years, this has resulted in mismanagement and irresponsibility on the part of this whole situation. The trust factor, defined by Webster as the confidence in the honesty, integrity, reliability, and justice of another person. Trust is earned over time, seeing the predictability of wise, responsible decisions that are made. Trust is the foundation of any relationship. Without trust, there is no reliability, and the relationship disintegrates. It is high time for the council to face the most important part of their oath of office, to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the people in our parish in decisions related to future development. Your 10-to-1 vote at the introduction of this ordinance is an indication that you are favorable to dissolve the appeals board. I would strongly urge you to do that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one other speaker, Mr. Bobby Hart. Mr. Hart, sorry I overlooked you to start with.
Judging by some of the rhetoric that I've been hearing over some of the comments before, it seems like it's apparent that this board is probably going to be repealed, which is something I'm very much in favor of. We spoke to this last time, that you guys were elected by the people, so you should have to say so. There's no reason to have some kind of appeals board who's going to override the Planning and Zoning Commission that you guys approved of. That's just a 3-layer bureaucracy, and then that last layer, who has the final say-so, is not even accountable to the board. So getting rid of this appeals board is very important to me. Not only is there such a small threshold for them to be able to override everything with just having 3 people, having them not accountable to the actual council, but just to the parish president, really puts them guys in a bad situation, because they kind of become a scapegoat for when things go wrong in the parish. And the people come to you guys looking for answers and looking to complain to somebody, which I'm sure y'all get a lot, especially as of late. You can now point the finger at somebody else. And not saying that you're looking to point the finger at somebody else, but it puts those 3 guys in a real unfair position. But they also, like I said, do not answer to you guys. You guys were elected by us. So the final say-so needs to come to you guys, because when things go sour in the parish, we need a finger to point as the people, and that is you guys. So so I fully support getting rid of this board. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to close public comment?
Have a motion to close public hearing. Second. Any opposition? Public hearing closed.
Motion to approve the ordinance.
A motion to move the ordinance. Second by Mr. Cagnolati. Any opposition? Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to item number 15, reading of the ordinance to acquire and purchase a certain parcel of immovable property for Ascension Parish government for the price of $230,000 for the purpose of a new fire station Sorrento Volunteer Fire Department. Mr. Parrington.
To acquire the purchase certain parcel of removed property of Ascension Parish government for the price of $230,000 for the purpose of new fire station in Sorrento Volunteer Fire Department. Whereas the Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, has the authority to acquire and purchase property. Now therefore be it ordained that the Ascension Parish governing authority authorizes the acquisition of property, purchase of property of tract B1E2 situated in the Parish of Ascension is more fully described in Exhibit A, attached here to and made a part hereof. This ordinance is being adopted in conformity with Section 601 of the Ascension Parish Charter. Purchase of the property is subject to approval by the Parish Attorney and the Ascension Parish Council. Kenny Matassa, Parish President, is hereby authorized to sign all necessary documents on behalf of the parish for the purchase of the property. The ordinance has been submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Open public hearing.
Motion to open.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Casso. Any opposition?
Motion to close.
Motion to close. Second. Any opposition? Motion to move the ordinance.
Second.
Cluad, second. Any opposition? Thank you. Okay, item number 18, reading of the ordinance to declare surplus and authorize the sale and/or transfer of one York 250-ton air-cooled chiller, model number YVAA 0267. Mr. Parrington.
Purpose is declare and to declare surplus and authorize the sale and transfer of one York 250-ton air-cooled chiller model YVAA 0267. Whereas the Parish of Ascension is the owner of one York 250-ton cooled chiller model YVAA 0267 that is surplus equipment and no longer needed by the parish. Whereas this asset no longer serves or has any public purpose, whereas the Parish of Ascension desires to declare said asset as surplus and provide for the sale and/or transfer of the same. Whereas be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Council by the governing authority in and for the Parish of Ascension does hereby declare as surplus and authorize the sale and/or transfer of the York 250-ton cooled chiller model YVAA 0267 as surplus and authorize the sale and transfer of the same. In the event any portion of this ordinance is ever held invalid or unconstitutional for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction over it, such portion shall be deemed separate, distinct, and independent provisions, shall not affect the validity of remaining portions of the ordinance. If this ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted by law, the ordinance has been submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Open public hearing.
Motion to open, second to open. Any opposition?
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Motion to close.
Second.
And a second to close. Any opposition? Motion to move the ordinance. Second. Any opposition? Ordinance is approved. Item number 21, reading of the ordinance to revoke an existing 15-foot servitude located on the western common boundary of Lot 1A and Lot 1B of the Darrell and Sherry Calm property. Mr. Parrington.
To revoke an existing 15-foot servitude located on the western common boundary of Lot 1A and Lot 1B of the Darrell and Sherry Calm property is depicted on the Earls and Associates plat map dated December 28, 1988. Whereas the petition is petitioning the Ascension Parish Council to revoke an existing servitude located on the western common boundary of Lot 1-A and Lot 1-B on the Darrell and Sherry Comrie property is depicted on the Earls and Associates plat map dated December 28, 1998. Whereas the Planning Department, the Engineering Department, and all relevant utility companies have reviewed and researched said request and have no objection to the revocation and relocation. The Parish of Ascension hereby ordains that it grants the approval of revocation of existing 15-foot servitude located on the western common boundary of Lot A1 and Lot B1 of the Darrell and Sherry Comrie property as depicted on the Earls and Associates plat map dated December 28, 1998, attached hereto and made a part hereof is Exhibit A. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby and henceforth repealed. If any provision of this ordinance is held invalid, such invalidity should not affect other provisions herein which have been given effect without invalid provisions. To this end, the provision of this ordinance are hereby declared severable. The ordinances shall be effective within 15 days of adoption. The ordinance has been sent to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Open public hearing.
Open public hearing. Motion is second. Any opposition?
Motion to close.
Motion to close. Motion is second to close. Any opposition?
Move the ordinance.
Motion to move the ordinance. Second. Any opposition? Ordinance is approved. Item number 24, and we have several commenters on this. We'll start with Zenobia Batiste. Okay.
Good afternoon, Ascension Parish Council members. I'm so pleased to be here tonight, and I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to come and speak on behalf of our parish president, Mr. Kenny Matassa. I have known him for years, as a matter of fact, as far back as when the mental health department was established. I found him to be an honest man, a man of integrity, one of great compassion for everyone, all people, everywhere. I found that his love for people, first for our Creator, then for his wife and his family, and for the community. Whenever we call on him for any kind of help, whatever he can do, he has a word, and he does it. I know tonight that you have before you the good, the bad, and the ugly. But as the opening prayer was, my petition to you is that you choose to do good to those who do good for others. Thank you.
Okay, we have next Ms. Denise Drago.
Good afternoon, counselors. I just wanted to come up and say what I read in the paper about the cost of living raises for people. My husband, as well as most of Ascension Parish, works hard, and if they're lucky enough to get a 3% raise per year to keep up with the cost of living, that's it. And so I don't know if we're on level with other parishes or whatever, but I've never heard, and I don't know if it's true, I've read it in the paper, but this kind of raise in Ascension Parish when every dollar counts and we're here for the people, I'm just alarmed. So I came tonight to address that and say why. I mean, who gets that kind of percent raise? I don't know of anyone. And so can any of you answer that for me? Who would get that kind of raise? Is what are we doing? You know, we have roads to be fixed. You know, some are state, but there's a lot of parish roads that needs fixing. And, you know, I want accountability for our tax dollars being spent because we pay a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, next we have Mr. Alvin Thomas Jr.
Good evening to this president, to the vice president, and to the council. I'm here tonight on behalf of my friend, Mr. Matassa. In order to have a friend, you must show yourself friendly. And I come tonight that he finds himself in an impecunious situation. And I say to you tonight that each of us here tonight could have found ourselves in that position. But unfortunately, it wasn't you. But I say this, who is it or who is he to judge and to cast the first stone? Each of us here tonight have something that have happened that you're not so proud of. I've been knowing Kenny for a long time. He's a public servant. He's a public servant. He's been a public servant. And he's been someone that has been taking care of people for such a long time. And I'm not standing here to cover for anyone. I ask this council and I ask the people, let the process take its course. And whatever happens from that point, we'll live with it. With a friend, we must come together. We must share ourselves. We must protect his family. Kenny is not the only one going through what he's going through. He has his family with him, has his friends. And believe me, we do have opposition on any and everything. But I say to you tonight, those of us that can cast the first stone, allow yourself to throw it.
Okay, next we have Ms. Wendy Alvarez. Ms. Wendy Alvarez.
Good evening. I just wanted to tell you that I've known Mr. Matas for 20 years, and I know he's a very giving, understanding person. He's done a lot of good in the community. I know many, many times he called me to see if there's some kind of way we can help people in the community. And I give him applause for that because many people won't help people as much as he has. And I think he should be given an opportunity, at least. I know there's a process that needs to be done, but you make him guilty before he's been to court. And I think he should be given the chance to run his parish. I think he can run his parish. And whatever turns out in court, turns out in court. But until now, I think we should wait. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next we have Mr. Lou Gopal. I know I said your last name wrong, but I can't get it right.
Close enough. Right now, Kenny Matassi is under indictment by a grand jury, unanimous verdict. I think there is no reason why the Ascension Parish Council should not vote for the proposal under question. Your responsibility is Ascension Parish. Kenny is going to be very occupied the next month, or I'm not sure how long, addressing the charges made against him. I don't think he should have to be responsible to do an excellent job, his present job as parish president, and be working to defend himself. I think it's perfectly appropriate and understandable for the parish council to vote for the council for the ordinance before you tonight.
Okay, thank you. Next we have Mr. Colin Nicole.
Permission to speak off topic for 1 second?
I can't give you that.
Okay. This is not a legal matter. It's not a disciplinary matter. No evidence will be presented, no witnesses. There is no reason to be in executive session. We, the people, need to know, we need to see, we need to have confidence in our representatives. The open meetings law, I don't know if it by the letter of the law will be violated, but by the spirit of the law, executive session will violate the open meetings law. It needs to be in open chambers.
Okay. Mr., I don't know if it's Mr. or Mrs. Brennan Howell. Mr. Thank you.
Thank y'all for letting me come up today. I support this resolution because I believe we need a parish president that can lead our parish in the right direction. I believe we should have a parish president that puts the needs of the people before the wants of officials. I believe that it is the right of the people of Ascension Parish to seek someone to lead us. It is that time for the people to stand up and believe again that this parish can be great, that we can find someone that can lead us, not bribe us.
Thank you. Alfonso Massey.
Good afternoon. I'm glad to be here to give my friend, Mr. Matassa, and tell some things a lot of people don't know what he have did in the parish. This guy, he and I, Richard Coach Brown, started a food bank in Geismar. He had a smile on his face when he was able to get things started with us like he had just won an election. The guy got a heart as big as Adam Cartwright. He's just a smaller version. It's no way, since I've been knowing him, he got a heart and he'll do what he can for the people. And I know, keep what we have. Try and everybody work this thing out because we need to parish president we have. I thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. C.J. Lambert.
Thank you all for allowing me to talk. I'm a lifelong resident here and also a abiding by the law citizen also. And I expect my government to abide by the law. I don't like this indictment, and I hate to say it, but I'm here to bring another black eye to the parish and to Kenny Matassa. I was involved in a complaint before the 2016 election, and it was the sock hop event. Everyone here knows what the sock hop for. It's not a political rally. It's entertainment and recreation for the elderly citizens. Well, at the September 25th of 2015, 2 weeks before the election, Kenny Matassa put up mega signs all around the building at the Lamar Dixon, which is a public building, by the way. And it is against the law, I hate to tell you, because I have the RS statutes, to put political signs on a public building, and he also was a city of Gonzales councilman at the time, so he knew of this law. He knew this was breaking the law. I just don't think a man like that should be parish president. He should have never got elected. Because I went to every agency. Here's who I filed a complaint with. Ricky Babin. He would not handle it. Here's another one. Tommy Martinez. He didn't know nothing about it, he claims. He's the parish president, but he didn't know nothing about that. He told me to go talk to Garney Gautreaux. I went and talked to Garney Gautreaux. Garney Gautreaux said he did it, yes. He allowed that to happen. And he promised me that it would never happen again as long as he's the head of the recreation department. Well, it's sad to say he's not with us anymore. That's sad. But I got him to admit to me that that shouldn't go on at the sock hop with elderly people. I mean, my gosh, what kind of trickery do you need to get elected? And that's not to mention other things. Nepotism is rampant. He gave his brother a $15,000 raise for Mosquito Man. Then he hires Olin Berthelot's son for the rec job to take Garney Gautreaux's place. This little guy couldn't pass the drug test. Now tell me that's not nepotism and that's not favoritism. I call it cronyism. That is not government.
Thank you, Mr. Member. Next, we have Nick Matassa.
How y'all doing today? My name is Nick Matassa. I'm Kenny Matassa's youngest son. Last year, I was involved in a bad chemical plant explosion, which almost took my life. My dad was running at the time, and when I came out of a coma, he told me that he wasn't going to run. You know, I meant more to him than this position, because family always came first, always. But I told my dad he could not step down because I know how much it meant to him. It was his lifelong dream. And he cares more about this parish than any of y'all know. He's working round the clock. Sometimes I think he sleeps and eats this stuff. My dad is he's a Christian. He would give the shirt off his back to anybody. There's not a better person for this job. And I'm very proud to call him my father. I have so much respect for my dad. for, letting some of this brush off his shoulders. He's a better person than I am. But, I wish people would, start focusing on the good stuff my dad does and see all the stuff that goes on behind closed doors. Because I can promise you, there's not a single person in here that hadn't done anything wrong in their life. And if so, please stand up, because I'd love to shake your hand. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, Tony Matassa.
Thank y'all for hearing us today, guys. Basically, the same, everything my little brother just said. I'm Kenny's middle son. He is given to this parish and given to this parish, loves this parish. People call him every minute and hour of the night and weekend, and, if there's a hurricane, if there's anything, he's on top of it. Most of his, the people, politically speaking, that are against my father in the past 25 years or so, a lot of these people I've never met. And I find that odd because I go to a lot of these things to bring him food or go pick him up or drop him off. They care so much, but I haven't seen them over the past 25 years filling sandbags and everything else, getting the phone calls about whatever in any time, wherever, and responding to that and helping out and taking care of people that he doesn't know. Sometimes people he doesn't even, that as far as I'm concerned, I didn't think he even liked, that he's done things for. But that's him. Thank you all very much, guys.
Thank you. Catherine Goppel.
At least Mr. Alvin Turner had the courage to resign when he was accused. He spoke previously. You will be discussing behind closed doors the resolution requesting the immediate resignation of the parish president due to a lack of confidence in his ability to perform his duties in that office. It is appropriate and required that you give the people an opportunity in public to discuss this resolution before you cast your vote. This is a highly charged issue in Ascension, and these comments are not meant to be demeaning in any way. The love of Mr. Matassa for his family is not in question. His good deeds in the past are not in question. And no one is casting stones. These are the facts. Number one, on August 1, 2016, tapes were released of the voice of Parish President Matassa and the alleged bribery of a candidate asking him to withdraw from a Gonzales City Council race in the November 8th election. Number two, the Office of District Attorney Ricky Babin felt evidence sufficient to move forward with the grand jury, but recused himself on November 14th, the day before the grand jury was set to convene. The case was given to Attorney General Jeff Landry's office, who had assisted in the investigation. Number three, on March 10th, the grand jury of 11 citizens, after hearing evidence, issued a true bill of information after 2 days of testimony, charging the defendant, Parish President Matassa, with the commission of an offense to offer something of value to the candidate, warranting an indictment. Number four, 8 members of this council endorsed candidate Matassa in the November 2015 election. Up until today, the council has been unwilling to consider the resolution before you, although it has been requested for over several months. Ascension Parish has received a political black eye from the actions of the parish president and the inactions of the majority of this council. The administration has seen numerous terminations of employees, termination of the project to begin sewer in Ascension after 5 years of negotiations and effort, which will ultimately result in a more costly consent decree from the federal government. And among other things, a dysfunctional relationship between the council and administration. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Future business and economic development has been stalled, citing the pending political scandal. The wise and responsible thing to do is to call for the resignation of President Matassa. This will minimize the concern about the council in the court of public opinion, hopefully nudge the parish president to resign, and stop the embarrassing situation we now face in Ascension. Please support the resolution. This cannot force a resignation. But you can move our community beyond this destructive situation and move on toward positive solutions to the challenges we face. Thank you.
Jean Lavidale.
Yes, I'm just here to ask you to support the resolution. I think it's a very important resolution. First of all, this is not a criminal proceeding. This is, you can't, all you're going to be doing is asking him to resign or saying that you do not have confidence in him. You cannot force him to resign. So this is a very important resolution for you. We're not here to cast the first stone. No one here is free from sin. But that's not what it's about today. It's if you heard those tapes and you didn't feel shame in what was being said, there's something wrong with you. And if you haven't heard those tapes, you shouldn't be sitting here today to vote on this resolution. I'm telling you, I heard those tapes. And that's what was being said. It just brings shame to this parish. When other parish presidents are getting arrested, they're getting indicted and prosecuted by federals, you don't want to bring shame to this parish. I'm an attorney. I've been on the prosecution side, I've been on the defense side, and I understand his rights. I know that he's going to have a day in court. But that day is not today. Today, all you're saying is that you don't have, or you should say, that you don't have confidence in him as a parish president. Our standard for our government should not be, oh, he has done bad things, but he has done good things too. It doesn't matter what goes on behind closed doors. No. People in government are to be held to a higher standard because there should be an example. There should be no corruption. There has to be transparency in government. I come from Guatemala. That's where I was born. Corruption hurts people. It hurts the little people. And he has his day in court. Maybe he will be found innocent. But at this point in time, a grand jury heard the tapes. And they decided that there was enough to bring formal charges. If you heard those tapes, I think that you need to find that we should have no confidence in him.
Mr. Chase Melanson.
Hey, how y'all doing tonight? I'm also here to request that y'all have the vote of no confidence in Kenny Matassa. And like other people said, when he leaves here tonight, no matter what, he's going to be a free man. He has all the right in the world to prove his innocent in court. But right now he's in the public eye. And whenever somebody with a job to us in this parish, whenever he makes that kind of salary, has this kind of job and everything, whenever him and his buddy, they don't get to decide who runs for elections and who's on our parish government. We do. Not him, not none of his money friends. What him and his buddy did goes against everything democracy stands for. It's all right to put y'all up there to put anybody else in any other public official spot. Not Kenny Matassa, not Olin Berthlot, and not anybody else around here who's throwing money. How many more tapes of Mr. Matassa or one of his friends have to come out about money exchanging hands for jobs? So far, we're 14 months into his term here? So far, he's made the news twice on separate occasions. So right here, right now, and not to mention, in a minute 40 seconds, can't go over everything, very questionable practices in his office. From what I understand, his brother, as a mosquito sprayer supervisor, makes more than some of our engineers do. And, if that's the case, I'm gonna put both my kids in mosquito spray in school to save a little bit of money. So right now, I'm asking y'all, he'll have his day in court, right here, right now. When's the last time this many people showed up in this building right here? I hope our voices are being heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Selma Matassa.
Good evening, Parish Council men and woman, Terry, and everybody else in the office. I am Kenny Matassa's wife, and I heard all the complaints tonight. I heard all the good things about my husband. There are a lot of things that all of y'all people don't know, and that is that my husband works 15 hours a day. He does not get paid enough money to work on this job. If y'all think that he's making a big salary, well, maybe y'all ought to tune in and see how many hours he puts in. Maybe y'all ought to check into that, some of y'all. And y'all throwing the word corrupt around. Well, I want to know how do you describe corrupt, Mrs. Goppel? That's all I have to say. You look that up in your dictionary.
Al Robert.
My name is Al Robert. Appreciate y'all giving us a chance to speak. I'm the co-chairman of the RPEC, which is Ascension Parish Republican Executive Committee. Our committee is elected parish-wide every 4 years by the citizens of Ascension Parish. I am here to represent the RPEC to deliver a vote to the council and our president that is a unanimous vote of the PEC requesting the president, Mr. Matassa, to resign. On a personal note, Coach Thomas said earlier, this is not about casting stones. This has nothing to do with Kenny. I love Kenny, Selma, his family, and his parents. It's about the office of parish president. That's what we're here about. Nobody could care less whether or not Olin Berthelot is indicted, because it doesn't matter. But the parish president office matters tremendously. And I encourage y'all to ask him to resign tonight. Thank you.
Okay, that's the end of the public comment. Madam Secretary, if you will, pass me the resolution that we have pending. So this is I'll read the resolution that is proposed on the agenda. This is resolution requesting the resignation of Parish President Kenny Matassa. Resolution purpose. The purpose of this resolution is to express the council's call that President Kenny Matassa resign the office of Ascension Parish President immediately. Whereas the council acknowledges it has neither the right nor the ability to force the resignation of the parish president, this being the right of the voting public at this time. Whereas there has been an indictment by a grand jury of the state of Louisiana of Mr. Matassa in violation of LSARS 18:1461.54A election offenses including bribery, a unanimous grand jury returned a true bill of indictment finding that President Matassa did give something of value to Wayne Lawson for securing Mr. Lawson's withdrawal from November 8, 2016 Division E Gonzales City Council election. While this does not in itself constitute a conviction, it does affect his ability to perform his duty as parish president and reflects negatively on the entire parish. Whereas this council, through this resolution, offers neither legal opinion nor judgment as to the actions of President Matassa, thereby preserving his rights of due process afforded to every citizen of this great nation. Now therefore be it resolved that the Ascension Parish Council hereby has no confidence in President Kenny Matassa's ability to uphold the responsibilities of the office of Ascension Parish President and calls on President Matassa to resign the office of Ascension Parish President immediately. This resolution was duly adopted by Ascension Parish Council on this blank day of 2017. And Mr. Satterley was the requester of this. I'll give him opportunity to make the motion to adopt.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
So we have a motion to adopt the resolution as read.
I'd like to make a substitute motion.
We'll wait, do we have a second? Hearing no second, that motion is lost. Mr. Lawler, you have a,
Shall I read it into the record?
yes.
It's substantially similar. Yes, it's a substitute motion.
Read your proposal, and then we'll get the motion.
Resolution requesting the resignation of Parish President Kenny Matassa. Purpose. The purpose of this resolution is to express the council's call that President Kenny Matassa resign the office of Ascension Parish President immediately. Whereas the council acknowledges it has neither the right nor the ability to force the resignation of the parish president, this being the right of the voting public at this time. Whereas there has been an indictment by a grand jury of the state of Louisiana of Mr. Matassa, and while this does not in itself constitute a conviction, it does affect his ability to perform his duty as parish president and reflects negatively on the entire parish. Whereas this council, through this resolution, offers neither legal opinion nor judgment as to the actions of President Matassa, thereby preserving his rights of due process afforded to every citizen of this great nation. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Ascension Parish Council hereby has no confidence in President Kenny Matassa's ability to uphold the responsibilities of the office of Ascension Parish President and calls on President Matassa to resign the office of Ascension Parish President immediately.
So do you move? You make the motion for
I
adoption?
make the motion for adoption.
Have a motion for adoption of the resolution as read.
Second.
There's a second. At this point, is the time in the parliamentary procedure for discussion. I would ask Mr. Parrington to first give us some guidance on the discussion in this matter.
The discussion of character or professional competence may be held in executive session. And that's basically what the resolution calls into play, the ability to do the job. So I think that's relevant in this situation.
Okay, so that's the, we have a motion by Councilman Joseph to call for the previous question. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second by Councilwoman Casso. So just an explanation, the call for the previous question stops the debate, requires 2/3 of the members voting, and moves right into a vote on the resolution. So here's what we're voting on right now is the vote on motion calling for the previous question. Requires a 2/3, Madam Secretary.
Councilman Turner.
No discussion.
Just for clarification, we're voting on the motion itself now, or?
The motion of the previous question, which would stop debate and move right into the voting on the motion to adopt the resolution.
Yes.
Councilman Satterley.
Yes.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Kluot.
Yes.
Councilman Lawler.
Yes.
Councilman Joseph.
No.
Councilwoman Casso.
Yes.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Cagnolati.
Yes.
Chairman Dawson.
Yes. Okay, so now we will move to voting directly on the resolution as read. Be no discussion. Okay, that will require a majority of members present.
Councilman
I have
Turner.
no discussion, Mr. Chairman. What was the vote? What's the number? How many yeas and how many nays?
Well, that was carried with one nay.
One nay.
And you're voting with the yeas?
I voted with the yeas. So I'm sorry, the previous question motion was carried. So now we move into voting for the motion to adopt the resolution as read by Councilman Lawler.
No.
Councilman
Okay.
Turner.
No. Councilman Satterly,
Yes.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert,
No.
Councilman Kluot,
Yes.
Councilman Lawler,
Yes.
Councilman Joseph,
No.
Councilwoman Casso,
Yes.
Councilman Todd Lambert,
Big decision. No.
Councilman Cagnalotti,
Yes.
Chairman Dawson,
Yes. Give me a tally on that.
6 yeas,
You
4
got it.
nays.
Motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.